was that?
What was what?
Did you like shake your mic?
I was just putting the X-Wing on here. That's on there every. That's how we open the show. Is that how we open the show? Only
step down from last week's.
We come in out of the intro. We're all staring at everyone. What the fuck was that? Really?
Yeah, because the intro finished and I heard you shaking your mic. I was like, "What is he doing? Like, does he know we're?"
That's what you call ignoring and just say what you're gonna say. Move on.
I thought it was actually better than the intro of the show that I was going to do. This is as you guys know, this is not our favorite topic, but of course, welcome back to the Chatooine Show. Despite what many say, we are the best and brightest Star Wars show in the galaxy. Here every Wednesday night, I'm joined with Lunga and Palpamemes. And before we get the show started, we got a big shout out to you guys who tuned in last week. That Brendan Wayne episode we did is like the highest viewed on the Chatooine Show channel. In terms of success, we had like 10 to 15 articles written about the show in Portuguese and Spanish. I think
John Campia said our name.
John Campia, making Star Wars Investment Bulletin, reported on it and everything. Like, you know, it is what we call a success in the world of, I guess, Tatooine and Chatooine. So thank you guys so much for tuning into that and all your support. It's actually been pretty fun seeing the reaction to everything and seeing just Brendan Wayne go through the news cycle based off the conversation we had with him. So thank you so much for tuning in for that and supporting the show. And today's show is not going to be as good because we're talking about the Bad Batch. It won't be the worst one ever. The one that was just me and Lunga talking about season 2. That by far was the worst. But we're halfway through season 3 of the Bad Batch. And after that, we're going to talk about the Rogue Squadron stuff. So don't think that this is just going to be an only Bad Batch episode. But
don't leave, please.
Yeah. No, stick around. The best is yet to come. But gentlemen, would you guys agree this might be the best season of the Bad Batch, even though we have notoriously not liked this series so far? Palpamemes, I know last time we talked about the first 2 episodes, you were like, oh, it's still horrible. You gave it I think like the lowest rating out of all of us, even out of like
I think I gave one of the episodes a 4. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you were brutal. You were brutal. So now that we're halfway through the season so far, how do you feel about Bad Batch?
Well, I mean, my rating still stays at 4 or 5, and I don't even think that's a bad rating per se. With context, a 4 or 5, it's not. You can't rate it. I don't rate things on the same way you would like grade homework or something like that, right? Like a 5 is medium, right down the middle. A 4 is just below medium. 3, 2, 1 is it hurt things. So I give it still around a 4 or 5. I don't genuinely hate this show. I know I like to make jokes and stuff about it. I actually, you know what? I actually don't mind the character of Omega. I actually kind of like her to an extent. I don't think she has much depth to her, but she's enjoyable, or I don't know, maybe her charisma on screen or something, but I don't mind it. I am kind of tired of the same formula of like, you know, the father figures have to raise this child that is not actually there. As we saw in Mandalorian, Last of Us, we see it all the time. But I still find this show. I find this show's purpose not important at all. And I'm not saying every single Star Wars show needs to have super, super important purpose to the whole grand story of Star Wars, but I need some purpose within the characters and some story, and I've just yet to get that. And that's why I just give it a 4 so far. I think it's below average, way below average, and I stick with that.
Lunga, do you share the same sentiment? Because I think when we all talked about this last, when the first 3 episodes dropped, me and you were kind of on the side that it did have some purpose with the cloning stuff and everything and Palpatine. So since you were a little bit more positive, how do you feel about I think we've had 3 episodes because they dropped 3 and then we have 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 4 more episodes. How are you feeling now that we're halfway done?
Again, I say this comparatively speaking. Okay. So when I give numbers or talk about it, I'm not saying, this number, it's among the best Star Wars I've ever watched. That's not what I'm saying. It's comparatively speaking, compared to the other stuff we've gotten. Yes, this season is better than 1 and 2. I would say the first couple episodes in 1, setting everything up were really kind of, fun and exciting. Then it got kind of boring. And then, fuck them kids, this fucking kid. Then season 2 was just a fucking drag. Okay, with the exception of introducing Tantus and what's going on over there, teasing us with all that stuff, and then Tech at the end was kind of so I guess the beginning of season 2, the end of season 2, and a couple in the middle. So this one so far, with the exception of the episode I called filler, that was the one, episode 2, right? Yeah, episode 2. That one was just pointless. Yeah. That's the one.
Wrecker and Hunter.
Right. That's the one where people on the internet will still arguing with us saying, it would have hurt the story if you didn't watch. You could still skip that episode and not have missed a fucking beat of what's going on. I want to cut you
off real quick, but it's so annoying when people say that because they're like, there was this one line that might be important to the plot, therefore it's not filler.
No, they're not even talking about plot. No, they're not. Here's the. I mean, maybe you saw that, but they're talking about character development. Now, here's the thing.
Well, plot, story, there's important.
Yeah, there's important character development that lends to the story if it's a character-driven story, right? Sure. Then there's character development that's superfluous character development. Now, if you are really in love with this character, you love all the character development, right? That's give me more. Give me more. Give me more. Like there's certain characters that I love in other shows. I'm like, I just give me them 24/7. I don't care. I want to see more. But that's just a personal thing, right? That's my subjectivity of I like this character, so give me more of that. I know other people are, if they don't like this character, are going to fucking hate it, but I like it. Give me more. But when you start arguing the point of this is important, we need this character development for the story, there was nothing in episode 2 that did that. I'm sorry. I still stand by that because you could skip it and we haven't missed anything. We haven't missed any to develop it. Now,
one argument I saw was that it was a Wrecker's emotional thing where he goes, oh, last time we went in without reinforcements, not all of us came back. They were like, that made the whole episode right there.
Bruh. You know the arguments I kept getting? No. You're making me go off. You see, you're making me, I mean, we're still kind of on a topic, but you're making me tangent. Here's the thing. The arguments I kept getting were two things. It's showing how much of a father figure Hunter wants to be, and it's telling us that they want to find Omega. Bitch, they've been doing the father fucking thing since first episode season 1. It hasn't ended. That character development has not fucking stopped. And at the season finale, and if we knew if they ever took Omega, they'd be fucking obsessed to get her back. And that's literally what he says at the end of season 2. And we're going to get Omega. And in season 1 opens up with them. Guess what? Looking for fucking Omega. I didn't need episode 2 to tell me that some more. I know that's what they're doing. Okay? It's not necessary. Right. It's not filler, though. It's not filler at all.
Do you feel like any of these recent 4 episodes were filler?
That's what I was getting at, because you made me digress. But I was talking about the filler at episode 2, which kind of segues nicely into now we had an episode that some people would consider filler. It's when the whole on the ice planet with the dune sandworm, but it was a snowworm. And infiltration, whatever this is called, when they went to that dark base to try to get the iPad.
Infiltration.
That one was a character development episode, right? The action was unimportant, right? The snowworm being on this planet, none of that really mattered anything to the story. It was just action to fill the character development that was happening, and the character development was reintroducing Crosshair back into the Bad Batch and the obvious tension between him and Hunter. And now that, because he's been gone, and we all knew he was going to come back, this is the predictability stuff that people, but some stuff, it's okay to be predictable. But we knew he was going to come back eventually, right? That was important. We needed to see that because that's new, right? He hasn't been with them. So seeing how they reconcile is important in a character-driven story. So that one, even though it met the criteria of the more negative people of filler, there's some filler that is important to character development, and that one was one of them. So I was generally okay with it. So as far as these episodes go, pretty good. As far as the Bad Batch goes, pretty damn good. I'm not going to give numbers yet. We'll do we always do numbers at the end. But yeah, overall, I thought they were pretty damn good. I'm
always torn with the show because, like you were saying with the episode Infiltration, there is that character moment with Crosshair and everything, and just seeing him kind of divulge to Hunter the things he had to do for the Empire, or just even kill an Imperial officer, like that kind of shocked Hunter. And it's nice seeing Crosshair's story play out, because since season 1, I feel like he's always been the most interesting character of the Bad Batch group. And seeing that play out a little bit more in this series and in that episode, even though it's quotation marks filler, that character development is satisfying. And I think that's the big thing with filler episodes. And that's the problem that people have had with the Bad Batch, is that people like us who kind of want to get to the point of the story, it's taken 3 seasons to get to what is the reason for Omega's importance and everything. What's going on here with the cloning stuff and Camino and everything. And let's say we're just now getting to that in season 3. But the past 2 seasons have felt like filler, and none of the filler episodes were really that satisfying. It's not like Clone Wars,
because
like
this
Clone
could
Wars
have
is
been
more satisfying.
this story could have been wrapped up in 2 seasons. This whole story could have been wrapped up in 2 seasons.
Clearly, I mean, honestly, one could even say 1 season, because they do 16
that's a little
episodes a
short.
season. No, they do 16 episodes a season. I'm not going to say every episode in every single season has been filler, but the way they have paced the story out, it makes me feel like if you did 16 episodes, limited series, 1 season kind of thing, and it was all killer, no filler kind of thing, I really do feel like they could fit it in.
Yeah, but the
heard
problem
that
with those
before.
are they
Yeah.
start to those start to feel like, okay, satisfying story, but it felt short. That's
Yeah,
what ends up happening.
That is true.
There's a thin line when it comes to how many seasons do we do to tell the story that we have, and again, it's a thin line. You can rush things. Yeah, you get it in 1 season. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait to see where this season goes, and I would assume, considering it's the final season, would finish the story before I make a assumption on whether it could be in 1 or 2 seasons, because
That's fair.
even with halfway through this season, I would say there's really not a whole lot of progression going on story-wise. Yes, there is progression, but it's for 8 episodes, not enough.
Well, I feel like this
7
season has had
episodes,
the
sorry.
most progression so far, honestly. Like it
Sure.
really is kind of, even these 4 episodes that have come out, you can kind of skim through a bit of them. But
I saw that
We-
worm, and I'm like, all right, I feel like I have an
You
idea
knew-
of how this episode's gonna go.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it went exactly
knew
how I
right
it was gonna
then
go.
and there.
Yeah.
You knew it was going to
Yeah.
be filler, but still, I think like doing the what are they calling those assassin guys? Clone X, I think is what I saw someone say. That stuff is
I
kind
mean,
of
I know Rex and them was calling them shadow clones, and that's what
Yeah.
Rex was calling them.
But what I liked about that is that everyone thought it was Tech a couple episodes ago, and they were like, "Oh, is Tech
Yeah.
dead? Is Tech dead? That must be Tech," and everything. Turns out it is just another clone, but these guys are like made to be assassins, and that's part of Dr. Hemlock's secret organization, and they have like some kind of because it's so secret. Clearly, the other clones don't know about it and are trying to understand what's going on here too. Some of that stuff, some of those layers to this is very interesting and very unique. Some of the things I kind of get annoyed with, though, is one of the problems we had with Din Djarin and Grogu reuniting in Book of Boba Fett is that it seemed like there was really no time gap between them being together. This series, it does it a little bit differently, where you see in the first 2 episodes, Omega is going on for like months without seeing Hunter and Wrecker. But at the end of episode 4, they're already reunited and everything. I still kind of feel like there wasn't a long gap there to be like, oh man, I miss when these guys were all together and the crew and all that stuff. Like it seems like just another episode where the Bad Batch is all back together. Do you guys feel like the reunion was too soon?
I think there is. I like your comparison to the reunion of Grogu and Din, but I do think the two are very different. People like that Din and Grogu are away specifically because of the story that could have been built by that and the character development. So you could have had Din going off doing his own thing. Meanwhile, you have Grogu training as a Jedi, which I was always assuming, everyone was assuming that he was going to be the next Mandalorian Jedi. So it was founded upon the idea of, oh, this could really take the story in interesting places. Whereas like the Bad Batch reunion is kind of like, I don't see the exciting part of keeping them away. Not saying it was done well or should have been done as soon as it was, but there is a difference of what could have been had the characters stayed away from each other for a longer period of time.
I mean, with this 16 episodes a season and being halfway through the last season of season 3, there's no such thing as anything being done too soon in this fucking show. Let's be real.
Show.
Yeah. Now with that being said, it's hard to gauge those kind of things. Does it work? Is it good? Is it because it is really subjective and personal. You gotta really like have a feeling for the characters to gauge that. Like if I like Din and I like Grogu, so if they're like, that's why I had issues with how we all talked about this, how them coming back together, it's like it was too soon, because I care about the characters. I'm watching this show I don't really care about these characters. That's the problem. So it's hard for me to say, is it too soon? Because you have to care about them to know if it's too soon.
They haven't done the legwork that they kind of did for.
Yeah.
Grogu,
And when I say I don't care about these characters, I'm not saying fuck them, disdain. I wish they never came around. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying based on the show.
I want to see them on screen.
Right.
Yeah.
What they've shown me with these 2.5 seasons so far, none of them has made me really endear. Tech was the only one that I kind of really liked, and he's dead. So that's why, and oddly enough, that's why I liked it, because you took the one character, like it was Wrecker. I know the people who love the show would have cried, no, not Wrecker, he's a big cinnamon roll, he's too sweet, but I wouldn't have cared. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's the same thing all 3 seasons. Like there's no stuff like that. That's some of the problems I think with not caring about the show comes from, like Long is saying, with not caring about the characters. It's not like, oh, I hope they all die or something like that. It was just like, no, I'm not very connected with these people in the sense of, oh no, Tech died. It's like, oh,
it's like in real life, a random person dies, you're not going to give 2 shits. Oh,
well,
it's
yeah, you're gonna say, oh,
that's an actual.
I'm sorry.
Died, but,
oh, that's horrible. Know, that's so sad.
It's sad.
Are we going out to eat?
Doesn't affect me. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I feel about this show. It's like, okay, exactly. Things are happening. Why should I be invested?
I think Clone Wars and Rebels.
Where's my burrito?
Job making you connect to the characters a little bit more. Even though I'm not a fan of Rebels, when Ezra ran into Darth Maul and stuff like that, some of the plot elements and the idea of Ezra turning to the dark side, I was like, oh, I'm actually really interested to see what happens next.
Right.
Like
they did the legwork to even set that up, right? Whereas this show was pretty non-existent with that.
Yeah, I feel like they've tried in certain areas, and it really makes me wonder the thought process behind the series. Because do you guys feel like 3 seasons? I mean, we said 1 season might be too short for this, but do you guys feel like 3 seasons is kind of too much for the Bad Batch? I mean, it's a little hard to gauge how we feel about everything because, like Palpatine said, the series hasn't ended yet. But I mean, man, this is going on like 3 years now that we've been watching this show, and it's every year, every season. It's like, okay, it's the Bad Batch.
Let's quantify that though. Is 3 seasons too long? If there was 10 to 12 episodes in the season, no. When there's 16 episodes in the season, I mean, yes. So it's not that the episodes are. It's not that
than any other show. Like
it's not that 3 is too many. It's you have too many fucking episodes. You know what I mean?
It just makes me wonder what other ideas for a animated series they have or could have done, and like why this was the one that they were like, this is a good idea. Let's go with it. I mean, the timeline is interesting, but other than that, I mean, like these characters, I don't think are going to age all that well.
We got a High Republic cartoon, man. You haven't checked that out? Come on, Jedi Adventures or whatever it's called.
I told y'all that was happening.
I mean, again, we do have Jedi Visions. Visions. That it's not a series. It's a anthology. But it's
I mean, because when I look back
and
season 2 you realize, and this is I say this all the time. This is a problem with all of Star Wars right now. But it's just you keep getting these same things in the Clone Wars era, right? You had Rebels, which is in the Rebellion era, but still, and it's just we have this vast galaxy and this endless timeline, and yet we're stuck in the same 20-30 year period, and it's just so dried out. It's so dull at this point. It's the games, it's the movies, it's the shows. Most of the books and comics are set. Well, not books anymore because of the High Republic, but most of the comics, outside of the High Republic are still Vader this, Darth Maul this, and all that, and it's
not Visions,
Well, yeah,
Visions which isn't canon, so it doesn't matter.
Well, and Visions is a very, very small audience compared to these animated series, but I do think that's a good point.
I still want an Elseworlds tale, or it's just so far in the future. I still want the Ninth Jedi. I want some kind of show or on it.
That episode proved that. I mean, obviously, like Only said, Vision's a very tight knit community who like it, but still, that community loved that episode, and that just proves like, okay, we can move forward. We can go to new eras and make new stuff up.
Well, but I think the thinking with Disney, when you look at all 3 animated Star Wars series that we have, that's the way we think of it, where it's Clone Wars, Rebels, and now Bad Batch.
Tales
Clone
of the
Wars
Jedi.
was sure, whatever. It's
What do you
that's
mean,
a one.
whatever?
That's like 6 episodes. It's basically an extra Clone Wars episode at this point. Like it's
sure.
they
But wouldn't it have been
what-
really cool to get Tales of the Jedi of stuff set in like the Old Republic? You know, they kind of set the foundation and framing.
Yeah,
up for
but
that
okay,
era.
but, all right, fine.
Come
We'll
on,
add Tales
High
to the
Republic?
Jedi, but hang on, let me get to the point here about like if you look at all these, Clone Wars was under Lucas and it was set during the prequel era, of course, and it did great because it expanded on.
And it
those
was a long
characters.
time ago, right? It was
Very long. People have grown up with that show, and it went
Right.
for like 6 to 7 seasons. Like Clone Wars was around for a while, honestly, so you could build up those generations. Rebels was, what, 19 years after that, because it was, or maybe was it 10 or 15? I think. How means you would know? I thought you were a Rebels fan.
I enjoy it. I mean, what do you mean time frame wise? Like timeline?
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
10.
when did season 1 start?
I'm
Is it
sorry,
10
I
years
thought you were talking
after?
like release timing. No, it's like 10, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
I believe
Yeah.
so.
This is a
but still-
Goldman question, not a Palpatine's question.
No, that's
Goldman's a
true.
huge
That's
Rebels
true.
fan.
Right?
Yeah.
He loves Rebels.
He's the
but
shill.
still, like
well,
Rebels.
he's still
used a lot of
on
Clone Wars
strike,
stuff.
so
Yeah, he's petitioning Star Wars. But Rebels used a lot of the stuff from Clone Wars to, not make it better, but bring in stuff that was familiar with everybody. And then you have this Bad Batch series that is in between Rebels and Clone Wars, and it's like Palpatine's saying, it's all
Well,
in this one
not
little
only that,
time frame.
it's a spin-off.
Of
It's
the
a spin-off of the
Clone
Clone Wars.
I
It's a
forget
spin-off.
that,
So
you know?
it's
It
hard
is a
to
spin-off.
even say it's this new thing. It's a spin-off. They ended Clone Wars. They got that 7th season. They introduced these characters in it, and they spun it off. So this is technically a continuation of Clone Wars, if you really want to be honest about it.
Well, and that's the way it portrays itself, and very intentionally. But the problem with that, I think, is when you watch the Clone Wars series, the main characters are Ahsoka, Anakin, and Obi-Wan. The clones that you get to work with and meet throughout the entire series, yes, they add a lot to it, and there's big fans for stuff like that. But when you do a spin-off series about just the clones, and you don't have these characters from the movies, and you don't have these characters that you've spent a lot of time with, these guys are brand new, and you give them a whole entire series. I mean,
I don't know
it's
if
a
I can
timeline that's
agree
weird.
with that. I think it literally just comes down to telling a good story. Look at Andor, look at The Mandalorian seasons 1, right? You can do new characters and new ideas and stuff like clones or like Imperial stormtroopers and tell a really damn good story that allows the audience to get really invested in the characters and the plot. We've seen that a handful of times, very few, but we've seen that with Star Wars. And so I don't think it's a matter of, oh, we don't have familiarity, therefore, people aren't invested. No, if you tell a damn good story, people will come, people will be invested. They just haven't done that with this show.
Right, I mean,
Or not a good enough story, because there are the people that are just like, I mean, with every show series and
I mean, come
any
on,
IP,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be Star Wars.
I
There's
have
people
a lot
that
of
just
friends who
are
really love this
rabid
show, and it's
fans of shit
and
that's
fine.
not that great.
That's the stuff. If you enjoy it, subjective, cool.
Yeah.
More power to you. I love stuff that's shit.
Right.
But
But that's the part that annoys me. It's like, I am not criticizing you for liking it, right?
100%.
You, general, not you, problems. I'm not criticizing you for liking it. If you were liking it, great. You're enjoying Star Wars. If there's some happy Star Wars fans, that's great. But don't try to convince me that the reason I don't like it is because, which we've said that, is because A, I don't get Star Wars. B, I just don't get this show. It's no,
hater.
dude.
Yeah.
Just because, just a hater. No, I want Disney to give me something I love. It's why I'm still here.
Well,
That's
here's the
why
thing.
I do
When
this
they
show.
do that,
That's
like
why I spend
Andor-
money on Star Wars shit. It's
Right,
because
when they give
I
us
want them
something
to give me
Andor,
something good.
Everyone comes
Yeah.
together.
Right.
Except for like the very, very few handful that were like, I didn't like it because it was boring, and those people are just stupid. All right, flat out.
Hey, don't you call Sith stupid? All right, he's part of the team now.
No, but he at least admitted it was a very well made show, right? Even the people that hated the show were like, this thing's damn good. It might not be their cup of tea, and that's whatever. But I don't know. I haven't seen anyone say that Andor is bad. I've seen
Those are the ones that are out there saying, just because it looks so good, they automatically think that makes it good Star Wars. It's like, no. That's
I
one
think
of the
it's good Star-
reasons
it's a
why.
really good story.
But it's not
Yeah,
the
good,
reason.
like-
Well, and it's
I mean,
also
best
proof that they don't
character
want
development
things to look
since
good.
OT. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah,
seeing where fandoms
like
at
those
with these
people
kind
that
of things.
hate anything clean and white. It's got to be grungy. They don't like
that's
anything.
the Imperials. Like, did they see the
That's-
Imperial shuttles?
That's
and
you didn't get
hangars?
it. it just went
Yeah, you just
right over your
you
head.
just
Didn't
don't
it?
understand. You don't understand, therefore you can't like it because you're not smart enough to
Only
understand.
always complained about how shit was too clean in a lot of these newer stuff. and it doesn't
only
look-
Star Wars. We've been through this. Star Wars only doesn't understand Star Wars. We've been through this time and time again.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Like, it's so funny seeing the sets on Andor with the Imperials, and then seeing the sets with the Ahsoka and the New Republic, and how like real the Imperials one looks, and then Ahsoka just looks like a bootleg SNL Star Trek episode. I mean, it just looks horrible.
Whenever Thrawn comes in, I'm like, oh, the volume is really being used here, and it's very obvious. Yeah, still not over that. That's okay.
No, I would have liked Thrawn. I mean, I made the joke of, well, hey, they still have the Star Destroyer. I'm sure the laundry facilities still work, and they can still be crisp and clean. But again, yeah, Thrawn's everything being so crisp on the Chimera seemed a little like, after all his years in exile, I think it's like, yeah, something should have been a little, ripped or grungy.
Yeah. Is he a working man, or is he one of them lazy Gen Zers?
It was the Sith, it was the witch magic. They were able to keep his ship from being damaged.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously had tailors to let it out, because we knew his waistline grew a little bit, so they obviously had the tailors.
Jesus.
Yeah, which is weird because how many resources were on that ship? There couldn't be in a ton of food, right? And they didn't know when they're getting out, so you think
it's like Star Trek, right? I mean, that's one thing we've never explored in Star Wars, right? Star Trek, they explain that because they got the replicator, right? Anything you need, you push the button and it makes it. They never explain that in Star Wars. How does this happen? How does it work with the Imperials?
Well, also, I've realized in Star Wars they call the restroom refresher, and in the Mandalorian they call it the privy. So I don't know which one it is, but it's nice.
Different
to know
planets, different phrases.
Yep.
They call it pop,
maybe they're
or
two
soda
different
pop?
things. Maybe they're two different type of restrooms.
I mean, we call it the bathroom, and the English call it the loo. I mean, it's.
I mean, there's bathroom and there's restroom. It's the same thing, right?
No, because in the bathroom you take a bath, in the restroom you rust.
Okay.
That's my mornings. Every morning when I wake up, I'm a good half hour sitting on that toilet, so I'm resting.
Okay, yeah, but back to Bad Batch. One question I have for you guys, because this is something I've seen a lot of people who like the series. What they say against people who kind of critique it is they go, "Well, why are you still watching? If you don't like it, why are you watching?" As someone who dislikes it, I feel like I'm watching it because I want it to be good. I want it to give, and I want to be able to watch something and actually say why I don't like it and critique it, than just be like, "Oh, I don't like it," and never give it a shot. Why do you guys still watch the series other than your contract obligations to Chatooine?
Because I see, and this is the problem with the internet. Because once you see a group of people all having a similar opinion, you automatically think anyone with a similar opinion thinks the exact same way, that we're a hive mind, right? And it's like, no. I'm not. There's a lot of people on that side of the fandom that hate watch, right? That's literally what they're watching for, is to hate watch, so they can make video after video about how much Disney sucks and how much Disney sucks. They're hate watching it, right? I'm not hate watching it. I try to be optimistic. Now, I know they disappoint me quite often, but I try to be optimistic, and I go into each episode. Okay, let's see what they're going to give me now. And sometimes they give me some stuff I like. You know what I mean? Now, at the end of the day, I could still be overall not super pleased with the series. But I'll be honest with you, with this Bad Batch thing, if we end up with it at the end of this season 3 with a little bit more story leading into this whole clone situation and how Project Necromancer got its genesis, and how it's and it's going to lead into other things later and other stuff in series and shows and movies and whatever. I'll be generally pleased with that. It doesn't mean I like the series overall. So that's why I keep watching, right? I keep watching to get the tidbits of the things I do like. Okay. If we're so starved for Star Wars content, why would I? Yes, I got to sit through shit I hate.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd also miss the few things I like, which is what keeps me involved.
What I think we can say with Bad Batch is that although there's a lot more things that we dislike, and many weeks that we did Chatooine where we were like, oh gosh, we have to watch Bad Batch again. There were certain episodes, and you guys can go back and watch these episodes, where we gave it a lot of praise. Like the first episode they did that was like an hour long, the ones with Cad Bane, the ending of season 1. And me and Lunga did a whole review of season 2. And there were some highlights in that season. We said it was better than season 1. Like there's aspects to the show that are enjoyable, and I think that is a core part of being a fan is just giving a shot. Palpatine, why do you still watch this show when you clearly hate it more than any of us?
Well, there's this little thing I do every Wednesday night called the Chatooine Show, and I have to be fully blunt with you guys. If it weren't for the Chatooine Show, I simply would not watch the show. I didn't watch.
He's that guy. He's that guy.
Per his contract, he's
that guy.
He must watch every Wednesday night.
Let me explain though. It's there might be little things here and there that that was neat. But in any toxic and abusive relationship, you guys have a good Friday night every now and then, so you might as well stay in the relationship. No, that's I think that's a very exaggeratory, analogy, but I'm sure you guys understand the point I'm trying to make.
Clip it. Palpatine supports being a Star Wars remaining in toxic relationships.
Yeah. It's as simple as that. Like, if it weren't for the Chatooine show, I simply would not watch the show. It's not that I hate it necessarily. I simply dislike it. I have no reason to like it. And there's not a lot of care for me, for the characters, for the story, for the plot. Sure, we have Project Necromancer, which again, I question how much they're going to develop or how much they even can develop given the circumstances of where Necromancer is by the time of The Mandalorian. So when we're like, they're going to develop it, it's like, no, they're not, because they can't, because we're in the same situation by the time The Mandalorian airs, with them still trying to work out Force-sensitive clones. So I've just been given no reason to really care.
Well, we're halfway done, and thank God for that. I mean, I'm really excited to see if, yeah. I am so curious though of it feels like through most of the Star Wars tenure I've had since being a child, there's always been an animated Star Wars show. We went from Clone Wars to Rebels, back to Clone Wars for like a season, and then we went into Bad Batch. Now it's kind of like, well,
Rebellion. Don't forget Rebellion, right? Don't forget whatever it was called. That preschooler kids.
Resistance.
Oh, that's about Resistance.
I was like Rebellion. I was like, who are we rebelling?
Resistance.
Yeah. No, this is Rebellion. I rebel. I fucking love that line. What comes next after this? Like, do you guys think there's going to be another animated Star Wars series in the near future? Because I remember years ago hearing that there was going to be a High Republic one, and then came the Young Jedi Adventures of the High Republic. I was like, that was quite fascinating to hear about. But now coming forward with a future Star Wars animated series, like, I don't really know what they could even do at this point that would make people go like, yes, I'm tuning in.
I hate to say this because Palpatine is going to hate it. 100% they're going to have an animated show that's set around the Mandalorian time period, right? They are. It's going to happen. I don't know when. It's going to happen. They're going to have, I'm not saying it's going to be a Mandalorian animated series, but it's going to be set. Maybe they come back and do Rangers of the New Republic, but this time
I was just thinking that. What if they did that and put it in the animation?
And be honest with you, with the way they do things, that's perfect for their kind of animated show. Rangers of the Republic.
Not even time frames. I'm just talking about like what the next animated Star Wars show. I wonder if they've even considered it. I mean, they've had to, because it seems like with Lucasfilm recently, one thing they try to do with the fandom is have content release every year. No matter what it is, have at least something, and mostly it's a show or something like that.
Right.
You can, put your name in, but like, hey, here's what we did in 2018, 2019, 2020. And every year that Lucasfilm has been owned by Disney, we have gotten some type of Star Wars show. The first couple of years were different, but Rebels started pretty quickly. It started in like 2014, I think. So it took 2 years for them to get the ball rolling with stuff like that. And every year we've had a Star Wars show to watch. And I wonder what comes after this when it comes to the animated aspect of it, because it's always been an animated show.
Yeah, to answer the question, yeah, definitely. I know there's been problems with animated studios under Lucasfilm and Disney. There was that one that got shut down. Was it in Canada? Or there was that one animation studio, I can't remember what it was called, that got shut down. So there's definitely been problems with it. And there was more animated projects in the works. We know of the Darth Maul one, and there was a few more that a lot of people know about. And clearly those got either shelved or just thrown out. I wouldn't mind one set in the Mandalorian era. I know I'm very critical of the Mandoverse overall, but I'm always like you with the Bad Batch.
Well, I was talking about more about the era that it's still kind of in its
case,
similar.
I would be open to that. I still firmly believe it's just simply time to move forward or backwards. But I'm not opposed to it so long as there's a good story to tell that's worth telling. And I am disappointed there's not any High Republic stuff, because when they announced it, they're like, it's this huge multimedia project. I know there was a movie
Well, hang on,
planned.
they're doing the Acolyte now. Like that is a
Right.
pretty
Years
big leap.
later, right? This has been a thing for years. And
Yeah,
I
and it
mean,
is. And to
the
be
COVID
fair,
happened,
to be
the
fair,
strikes.
High Republic is just a catch line for that show. It's at the tail end. It's, if you want to be honest,
right,
it's a
hard for me
transition
to
period.
consider-
It's a transition period from the High Republic to the modern Star Wars era.
It's basically the prequel to the prequels.
Yeah.
Like,
right. It's gonna,
simple as
well,
that.
yeah. I mean, but I would
It's about-
love a High
yeah.
Republic show. It'd be great to get a High Republic show, kind of. And this is one thing that I'm annoyed with, is the animation style being the exact same for every Star Wars show besides Resistance. I think it'd be neat if they kind of switch up the animation style. You know, I know it's not a
Rebels
huge
was
deal, but-
different.
Resistance
Rebels
look like fucking PBS.
I don't think Rebels looked all that
Forces
great,
of Destiny,
honestly.
remember?
Oh, that was probably the best one.
Well, I mean,
I
imagine like an
remember.
anime Star Wars show. I know we had visions, but like an actual canon anime Star Wars show, like set in the High Republic. That'd be sick. You know,
We had
that
the
kind of style.
2003 Clone Wars. That was
Exactly.
quite the
Exactly.
anime.
Yeah, it was awesome. And
Now that
probably
you
a lot
mention
cheaper to
that,
make.
I think the High Republic would actually lend itself very well to an anime style show.
Absolutely.
I fully agree. They're considering how vibrant everything is, right?
Yeah.
From their clothes to the buildings. Yeah, it'd work great.
Well, do you gentlemen want to get off our least favorite topic in the Star Wars
Yes.
fandom and get back to our second least favorite topic? What the hell is going on with Lucasfilm? This
Fun,
is
fun.
That was my reaction.
Yeah, this is surprising. This came from a podcast. Trying to figure out. It's Patty Jenkins. She was on the Ben. I'm not even going to try. It's the TCM Max podcast. Oh, Linda's got it up. Thank God. Let's
It's
just
been
scroll
right
down
there
all
the
way.
entire time. I don't know
Well,
how you
I
didn't
closed
see
it
it.
out. I didn't see it. I don't keep you guys open. Y'all don't see me. I don't see you sometimes. You know, I have other things up on my screen. But I do have her quote up here if you want to scroll down to that, because that's like the biggest news of it, the one that's highlighted in green. She's on
Yeah, I
this
know.
podcast. And they're talking to her about the her movie and what's going on. And she said, so when I left Star Wars to do Wonder Woman 3, I thought maybe I'll come back to Star Wars after Wonder Woman 3. So we did a deal for that to happen, started a deal, but I thought I was doing Wonder Woman. When that went away, Lucasfilm and I were like, oh, we got to finish this deal. We finished the deal right as the strike was happening. So now I owe a draft of Star Wars, and we'll see what happens there. You know, like, who knows? And so we will see what happens there. It's the same thing. It's hard to have a job. She basically says I'm back doing Rogue One or Rogue Squadron, and we'll see what happens. She keeps saying, "We'll see what happens in this." Jesus Christ, is Patty
Reminds
okay?
me of Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy
gotta
talking
remember-
about the trilogy. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting on the other person.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Just replace. We'll see what happens with. It's going to be great. Just replace it with that, and you know,
And it
That's great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
you know.
I don't know if this is going to be great though. I mean, it's funny how this worked out, because when this was announced that it was going to be indefinitely delayed, the reports weren't, oh, she's doing Wonder Woman 3. The reports were Lucasfilm was not happy with her draft and everything like that. And they were about to get into pre-production for Rogue Squadron. I mean, this was going to be the next Star Wars movie. This was supposed to come out this past December.
yeah.
So it's kind of weird that she hasn't done anything since then, and now she's like, "Oh, I'm back on track with it." And one of the reports came out, and this was like from apparently like very reliable insiders. I think it was like Variety or a Hollywood Reporter, who said that Michelle Rejwan was one of the executives at Lucasfilm who was not happy with the draft that Patty Jenkins turned in, and I think she
I had an
co-writer as
amazing
well.
thumbnail when I made a video on that. I loved it.
And this was years ago too, right? Like this, I mean, this
Yeah.
is 2020, 2021. I mean, this has been a while. And the fact that she hasn't done anything, and DC's had a whole changeover. So I kind of understand her thinking she's going to do Wonder Woman 3, and then,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't happen and everything. And longer, you're far more versed with what's happening on that side of the world. But still, the idea of her signing a new deal with Lucasfilm, what is, I don't understand that, honestly, because to me it sounds like you sign a deal, hey, I'm going to direct and write the Star Wars movie, and oh, we have to move the dates around because, you know, it didn't really work out, this, that, and the other happened, there was COVID, the DCU and all that crap, and then the DCU falls apart. You have to sign another deal to say you're going to do the exact same movie. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah, no, it actually does. Okay, the reports and the stuff that you talked about That's all true. None of that. Yes, this movie is supposed to be the first one, and I'm not saying none of that was true. There's a lot of moving parts with this, and a lot of things happened all at the same time. She was working on the Wonder Woman 3. The strike didn't end up happening. From the way she talked, she was contractually obligated to complete the script. So, if I have to speculate based on what all the things I've seen, she hands in her script. They don't like it. They have a few words. She's like, listen, this is what I want to do. I don't like this. And she's like, listen, I'm working on Wonder Woman 3. And they're like, all right, you know what? We're going to shelve it for now then. We'll talk later. Then the strike happened and the deal ended right when the strike, so they couldn't renegotiate anything. And they had to wait for that. Now, even though the deal ended, she still owes that script. So she's writing it. And what she's doing is she probably still, obviously, we saw how important it was to her, right? Especially with her father and the whole pilot thing. I'm sure she wants to do the movie. I'm sure she would love to get it resurrected. So in her mind is, well, I do owe him the script. Let me turn it in. Let's see what happens. Maybe they changed their mind. There's a lot of things changing right now with Star Wars. Maybe they want to look at it again. Maybe they'll do it again. So none of it sounds fishy to me. All of it can be true at the same time. One does not exclude the other. They're not mutually exclusive. You know what I'm saying?
Two things can be true at once.
Right. So
it's surprising though that she comes out and says this. Truly, because I
she's
think
petitioning. She's petitioning. That's what directors do.
She's petitioning. It's that she's saying like she has a deal, and this isn't something like Lucasfilm was denying. Of course, she would not be able to say this if this were not true. Honestly,
yeah.
And so it does surprise me that this is what they go back to, because here's what gets me. They announced 3 movies last year. In the past year, they've announced 4 and added the Mando and Grogu. This is gonna, and don't forget the Sean Levy one. I think that's like 5 technically, even though I don't
forget
think
the Lando movie.
So 6. So we're at 6 movies now, and now you're telling me this is going to be 7. And out of all the movies, when it comes to even with our interview with Brendan Wayne last week about the Mando and Grogu thing, we all know they want to see if they can do a trilogy out of that. If the James Mangold film does well, the Jedi Order, the New Jedi, or the Dawn of the Jedi thing, they'll probably make a trilogy out of that. If the Rey movie does really good, they might make a trilogy out of that. So to have all these series kind of starting, like they could try to do a duology with Rogue Squadron or a trilogy like this. We don't really know what their plans are here, and it seems like they're throwing so many of these one-off movies at the wall and just wondering which one's going to stick to keep going through with. And I think it's going to confuse a lot of people. I'm confused, and I'm actively up to date with this stuff. Like bringing her back already, I think is just like, you have so many movies in the works already, and now you're adding this one onto it. I mean, that's a lot.
They're not adding, but here's the thing: they're not. And I know Pelman still got to talk. I just want to get this out before I forget. They're not adding, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong. Lucasfilm never said that the movie was canceled, right? They never said it was done.
It was just indefinitely delayed.
Indefinitely delayed, which is exactly shelved. So it was never shit canned, right? It was shelved, which is exactly what this is showing us, that it was shelved, meaning we'll revisit this. The revisiting took longer because of the strike and a lot of other stuff that went down. And then, her unsure was going to DC and then back and forth and this and that. So, and remember, schedules and everything changed. Now, her schedule's been pretty clear. She's done nothing, right? Since when, as far as I know.
Nothing at all.
But there could have been a lot of stuff she had contracts for that might have gone away that we didn't even hear about. Not with Lucasfilm. I'm talking about just, in general. Because the strike really changed the timetable for everybody, right? That screwed up a whole bunch of things of when movies are going to be filmed, when they're going to be done, and all this other shit. So this is exactly what it was. It was shelved. So they're just bringing back something that they still wanted to do. It just wasn't finalized because they didn't like the script, and they couldn't start working on it until now.
Riddle me this then: why this one? Out of all the shelved Star Wars movies, Taika Waititi, Rian Johnson, whatever happened to J.D. Dillard, Guillermo del Toro, all that crap, why Patty Jenkins? Do you feel like, why Rogue Squadron? Why is this the one that they're bringing back, and why so soon?
Well, there's a few points to it. Number one, Patty's the one that's not doing anything. Number two, if you throw enough darts at a board, at some point one will stick, and it seems like that's Lucasfilm's quote unquote plan. Only you mentioned that what's their plan? I don't even know what they're doing. I don't think they know what they're doing. I don't think they have a concrete plan. We've seen that for a long, long time now, and it's continuing that way. It appears to me that this is Patty trying to salvage this rather than Lucasfilm trying to salvage this. That's how it comes across to me. I don't know that 100%, but that's how it seems. She's going to finish the script in hopes that it can work with Lucasfilm and Lucasfilm can work with her. I have zero expectation. I don't know. What's more likely to come, this movie or the Lando movie? You guys do a poll on YouTube and let me know. I think they're in the same boat going nowhere. And so I think those are the 2 points. You know, Taika, even Ryan, they're doing stuff. Patty is not, right? So there's a pretty significant difference on why this is being brought back from the dead, if you want to call it that. But in reality, it's more like they're just checking the heartbeat. Like, is this person alive? Not, you know, it's not really they're bringing it back, because it doesn't seem like there's any active development from Lucasfilm's end on this. They're just going to see if a script can work and then go from there.
I feel like this would surprise me if this is one of the Star Wars movies we get within the next 5 years, because then we go back to our original complaints of what is the interest in this? Mandalorian and Grogu, people are debating if these movies are even going to make $1 billion. There's been debates on if it's even possible for a lot of movies going forward to make $1 billion due to the theaters, and if Star Wars is even a franchise that can reach $1 billion again. And if that's the case, I think that's horribly sad. But out of all the $1 billion ideas, this definitely is not one of them. I think every other Star Wars movie that they have announced and everything, even that stupid Lando one, has a closer chance of getting $1 billion than Rogue Squadron. I really don't feel like this one.
No, I'm not saying Rogue Squadron would hit $1 billion, but I disagree. I disagree on
Lando,
that.
I would say Lando movie has a less chance because you have Solo, an even more popular character. Look at how that did, right? Rogue Squadron at least has some foundation of, oh, this is going to be a really, really fun popcorn flick, just like Maverick did, right? So you do have a better foundation on
but people don't know the name Rogue Squadron unless you're a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I totally understand. That's why I wouldn't say this movie would hit $1 billion. But if we're going to compare this to Lando, I would say.
And you got Rogue One as well. So it's like Rogue Squadron. Is this a sequel to Rogue One? I thought
Rogue One was really benefited off of The Force Awakens, right?
Yeah, it rode that hype. And that's one of the reasons it got to that $1 billion. So I think, we knew with this film being the return of Star Wars, it was a bad idea, and I'm kind of glad they abandoned it. I honestly do believe The Mandalorian and Grogu as a Star Wars coming back to theaters, I think that's actually a good idea.
That's fine. It's a agree to disagree, but that's why I fundamentally disagree with you on. I think if you're going to say Rogue Squadron's a really bad start to bring Star Wars back to movies, I would say the same thing about The Mandalorian Grogu. I don't think that's a good way to bring back Star Wars to the theaters. I think starting a brand new era, Old Republic, High Republic, 100 years after Rise of Skywalker. I agree with Lunga. I don't think, in hindsight, I don't think the Rey movie's the best way to start off in the theaters. I think you need something new.
They always want to do something new, but the problem with that is you got to remember. You remember remembering that.
I hate that so much. I hate that so much.
But why did we go see The Force Awakens, right? We saw the Millennium Falcon. We knew Han Solo was coming. Those were the anchors to everything going. And it was a new era, a new story.
I know, but here's my response to that. Look at how all those characters were handled, right? Look at how that story was handled. So now people actually don't want Disney bringing back these characters because they're afraid they're going to screw them up. There's a lot of people who are like, do not touch Luke, do not touch Anakin.
That is a small fraction, though, of us diehard fans online, though.
Oh, come on.
I'm saying casual audiences who are not all up to date and everything. Look, what is more popular, Mandalorian and Grogu, Rey, the High Republic, what's another, or Rogue Squadron? Out of all these things, it's Mandalorian and Grogu.
Starting a new era, right? That would be a very, very popular choice. Right, going to the Old Republic, going to the High Republic.
Look at Ahsoka. That's a brand new era to explore. And
I have to interject here something.
Anyways, go ahead.
Palpameme said, "Look at how these characters are treated. People, they don't want it. They don't want it." Okay, now here's the thing. Absolutely true, right? But that's also assuming that they're going to make the same mistakes. And that's also saying, just don't even try. Don't even bother. Don't even bother.
Which
you
a lot
fucked
of
it
fans
up.
do is what I'm saying. A lot
Okay,
of fans
right.
will
But
assume,
but if the movie comes out, let's say whatever movie it is, and it's actually good, maybe opening night may not be as huge, but if the movie's actually good and they start hearing it's good, you don't think the Star Wars fans are going to go? They're going to go.
well, Star Wars fans are going to go.
They're going to be there opening night.
Not $1 billion.
Okay, but hang on. You're saying $1 billion though, and you're saying a new era would be. That's the worst idea that I think to try to get to the billion. The Mandalorian and Grogu is the most popular thing in Star Wars right now. That is without a doubt the one that is most likely to get $1 billion just off of name recognition alone. And you talk about taking care of the characters and everything. Everyone likes. I mean, I know season 3 has some complaints, but for the most part, the Mandalorian is widely regarded as great, amazing, perfect. It's extremely popular.
And you know how you know that?
Ray.
Because of our interview with Brendan Wayne and because of all the articles, do you see how many people are upset that there may not be a season 4? If season 3 was so bad that it turned people off, why would they want a season 4 so bad?
Right. And there's also a different casual audience that's on Disney Plus and with the movies. And that's why I still stand by starting a new foundation, starting a new era is the best way to bring fans back into theaters.
Well, they did that though. They did that. They did start a new foundation. Mandalorian and Grogu is new. It's not even 5 years old yet. Oh, actually it is this year. My apologies. But that is a brand new thing that Disney made, that Disney did.
Hold on a second, right? Season 1, yes. Season 2, no. Season 3, not really. I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot of previously established characters in that one, so I'll give you that. Season 1 was absolutely isolated. Season 2, not at all. This whole Mandoverse is not isolated at all, so absolutely not. It's not that new.
It is new. The Ahsoka series is new. The
overall story of the Mandalorian is not new. No, it's all connected. We've that's why we call it the Mandoverse.
Do you know? Okay, hold on.
Though. That is brand new to Star Wars. We've never had this many.
I'm saying it's connected to all these things.
You got to understand why.
I'm saying new foundation, right?
Let's
new era. That's all.
Let's put this into context.
This is a new
Palpa memes. How old are you when season 1 came out?
I would have been 20. 19. It was December, wasn't it? Of 19.
December
right after
2019.
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, I would have been 19. Yeah.
When Mandalorian season 1 came out.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. From 19 to where he is now, to him, that's a long fucking time only. Okay, you gotta think of his age.
I was there too. You acting like I don't remember? I'm only a
yes, but you're an old fuck. I don't know what is wrong with you. What happened to you? You're just a weirdo, okay? You're not normal.
Went through it all, yeah.
Palpa memes is not the odd one here. This is normal for people his age. You, on the other hand, I don't know what the hell happened with you.
Quite the character. That's
no, 100%.
Sure.
But I want to clarify when I'm saying new. Okay, the Mandalorian story is connected, and when I say new foundation, I'm talking about there's not that connection, right? We don't have to worry about, are they going to screw up this character, right? You have fresh ground, right?
But what characters are you talking about the Mandalorian screwing up? Because they started out with new characters.
Ahsoka. I'd argue they screwed up Moff Gideon, but he's not a pre-established character. But
exactly. That's.
I'm surprised you didn't put in Hayden. You didn't put in Darth Vader in there.
You don't
I
think
don't think
they
messed up Darth Vader. I think his existence in that show was really piss poor done.
Or should I say Anakin?
Anakin.
It's Annie, guys. She calls him Annie.
Annie, are
in
you
episodes 1 and 2? It's Annie. I fucking hate that shit.
But here's my point, right? So it's like we already seeing these characters get kind of jumbled, right? And it's like, okay,
that was one season, but this is what I'm saying is like you're talking about new era, new foundation, new grand.
We had Boba Fett. We had
but
a lot of people disliked Ahsoka.
Look, the idea 5 years ago that you would have a Star Wars show that interconnects so deeply with another Star Wars show, and then a third Star Wars show, and then this is leading into a movie that could be a duology or a trilogy. That is unfathomable in Star Wars terms. Like that, this stuff has never been done. We've never had never in the history. I don't think we've ever had a streaming service show be turned into a movie. And you're saying they don't do anything new. We don't have to go to the old public.
I want to respond to this, Lunga, real quick. Okay, yes, but the problem is how the story went, right? That's the biggest issue.
Okay,
Not
but that's the
fact that,
issue
oh,
to
this is
us.
new.
That's the issue to us diehard fans. I'm saying that you talk about hitting $1 billion. It's the whole crux of this, of Mandalorian and Grogu hitting $1 billion, and then you're saying something in a brand new era and a new foundation hitting $1 billion. There's no
I didn't say it would hit $1
familiarity
billion.
with it.
I said it would be
You
a,
said
it
it's
would be a
you
better.
said it's the
I
best
said it would be
idea.
a better. Yeah, it'd be a better idea to start this new foundation with a
No,
new era.
no,
It'd be a better way of,
no,
of bringing it back to the
look what
theaters.
happened. Hang on, look what happened to the Force Awakens in Rogue One. Rogue One,
Mhm.
even though it's not a new era or anything, it's brand new characters. It's a huge fucking risk of a movie, but because it rode the high of the Force Awakens, which is the return of Star Wars,
Right.
return of Luke, Han, everything,
Right.
it got to that $1 billion. You need to keep that momentum going. How do you do that? If you want to hit, if you
Right.
want this an Old Republic movie, you need to have Mandalorian and Grogu first. Why do you think
Even
they're
with all the
doing this
bad press, the
before
Rise of
Brand New?
Skywalker still made money. I mean, anyway.
And the Mandalorian helped the Rise of Skywalker too because it was popular and it brought more attention to Star Wars.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
people
yeah.
probably
Came out
tuned in to
after the Rise of Skywalker, but sure.
No, it came out in November, and then the Rise of
That was in
Skywalker.
It was
came
like
out.
Okay,
shortly.
you're right, you're right.
I remember. Don't.
Yeah,
ever
but the
think I
build,
don't
but the
remember.
build up to
I
it,
always
the build
remember.
up to it was happening during the build up for Rise.
Right,
So
right.
it was
Yeah,
it was
we were
still
having the
there was a
exact
lot of
same
hype. There was a lot of hype around Star Wars
Right, it
in
was
general,
J.J.
even
Abrams
though
coming back. It was for a lot of fans
Right.
a last resort. Right, this is the
but
final film of the
here-
sequel trilogy. Let's see if they salvage it. Yeah.
I love the word contextualize because it seems to play into everything we're talking about. So we got to look at this. I understand what Pebble Muse is saying, and he's not wrong. Okay, there is a good chance with a new era, new setting, that's starting fresh, that could, bring a lot of people back to the theaters. Yes, that's true. But you're putting it in an opposition, or you're trying to say that this is better than this, and that's not necessarily true. They can both have the same opportunity. You would like to see this more because you want to see the newer shit, which is fine. But because of your personal feelings on that's what you want to see, and because of your dissatisfaction with the last season of Mando and kind of season 2, you don't think that might play into your reasoning on why you think this would be better? The casuals were not. Listen, it was the diehards that were annoyed with season 3. Let's be fair.
Right.
It was the diehards. The casuals, give me more Mando, okay? And even a lot of the even a lot of the diehards, they're still begging, like we just said, for season 4. So it has, in my mind, it has just as much of a chance. Not. It's like they're making a mistake. They should be doing this instead of this, and that's what I think we're saying. That's not necessarily true, Pebble Memes. That
I don't
again,
think making.
We're not disagreeing that it wouldn't do it. Just saying that doing Mando is a mistake. They should be doing this. That's where we disagree.
I stand by. I think it would be a smarter choice to start off on a new era. And I've been saying this. I don't think the Mando movie is needed. I don't think we should have a Mando movie. I hope the movie is fantastic. Obviously, my expectations of that happening are very, very low given everything that's going on. But of course, I hope the movie's fantastic. But I still think it's simply best just to move on from these eras, right? I
But
think
the
it's just
story's
best
not
to move
over. Like
forward.
they're trying to wrap this up. I mean, like,
The
what do you want them to
Mandalorian
do?
what stories
You
left
have
after Mando
Thrawn,
season 3?
bro. We just had Thrawn come in with the Ahsoka show.
That's Ahsoka, right? Right.
And who introduced Ahsoka in the live
Oh
action?
my gosh, come on. That's not no. That
What do you
doesn't
mean
count.
that's not? No, that does count. She literally
Where
is
was
a spin-off from
okay,
this
if that's
show.
the case, where was Din Djarin in the Ahsoka show? If that's the case, where was he?
Oh, you
If
know
it's
it's a
so-
crossover.
if it's so
it's a
important, where was he?
Mandoverse. It's important because he brought her into. Look what happened in season 2. Look how many things he started with season 2. He had mad cameos. He had mad
didn't
cameos.
lead her to
in this.
Thrawn. He had no part in that story. Yeah, she had some part in the story of Mandalorian, but Ahsoka's story, Din Djarin had no part of. It was
Okay,
completely
but
different.
are you really saying though they're not going to have a crossover with these two characters again? They're not
Well,
going to
that's
see
not,
each
I'm
other
not
again.
talking about that at all. Right?
Okay, but that's that.
Pebble
was
Memes,
my
at the
point
end of
this
the
whole
at the
thing.
end of the
We're-
day.
there needs to be some finality. You're talking about like we need to move on from this era. The story's not even over.
No, I
Like,
understand
Right. But
that,
here's
right?
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Only you're trying to convince him why he should want it. That's a moot point. It's pointless. That's not even a discussion. That's nonsense. Now,
But it's not trying to convince him.
But
that he
here-
wants
but
it.
here-
It's,
but-
it's
but
what
here-
we as an audience.
No, I
have
understand
wanted.
what
But
you're
here-
saying.
you
There
know,
needs
but-
to be
but-
a finale, right? And I totally understand that. You know, depending on what the Mandalorian is Grogu is about, until we see the movie, we can't make a prediction. We can't really make an argument for whether this movie was needed or not. And I'll fully admit that.
right. But if it's needed or not is irrelevant because as we have seen,
Sure.
that the way our interview with Brendan Wayne, the way that article spread, the way people are and the way people are interacting with it and care about it, your idea. Many people do not share your feeling when it comes to the Mandalorian. You're in the minority.
I completely disagree. You do say this, and I'm gonna say this back to you: is those people are the hardcore fans. The casual audience does not care.
The casual audiences were not like disappointed with season 3. I mean, where do you get that from? They want more. They want to see more. Give me more merch. Give me more Grogu. Your moms that put it on a shelf, right? You think they were dissecting season 3 the way we did? They're like, where's season 4? Oh, movie? Okay, I'm gonna go see that. I'm gonna bring the kids, and we're gonna get our Grogu popcorn bucket.
No doubt that there's going to be a lot of people
where the popcorn's coming out of his fucking ears.
Right? I have no doubt about that. But we have the Disney Plus numbers. We know that they are a fraction of what even the Rise of Skywalker had in ticket sales, and you cannot. That is a very important thing to compare.
Yes, you can, because I'm telling you right now, there are millions of casual peoples that go to the theater to watch a Star Wars movie that don't give a fuck about TV shows, and they're gonna go just because it says Star Wars in the title.
I never said there
Those
wasn't.
Casuals are gonna go.
But it's not gonna be enough to break $1 billion.
But you keep bringing up the Disney Plus numbers as a reason why casuals aren't going to go see a movie. That is a false equivalency right there.
No, I'm saying it's not going to be nearly enough. It's not going to be enough to break $1 billion. I'm not saying there's not going to be casual members who've never seen The Mandalorian before.
Yeah. I'm going to say here definitively, you are wrong. And the movie, when the movie comes out,
I'm saying there will be those. I'm saying it's not nearly as much as what
when the movie comes out, you're going to eat that porg.
Fine. That's fine. And I will fully admit, okay, cool, I was wrong. But what I understand now is, no, it doesn't really, doesn't really stand that chance.
I want to see him chew on the head of that porg when it happens. I do. I want to see him. There's not going to be any
chewing. I will fully admit, okay, cool, I was wrong. The Star Wars movie made $1 billion. That's fucking great.
Right? No, you chewing on that porg's head is more satisfying than saying I was wrong.
You're going to eat that cardboard behind you. Chop him up.
I'm not going to get anything out of me because I would be very happy to see that. I would be very happy to see I'm wrong, right? I'd love that more than anything.
Sure, that plays no bearing on the fact that I'm gonna hold you to say you're wrong. That's all. It doesn't matter if you liked it or not. Doesn't matter if you're happy about it.
Hey, cool, I was wrong.
Sure,
great.
Y'all won't even remember this in 2 years when
there's
the
gonna be no.
This is for the benefit.
Try and get me to admit I was wrong.
This is for the benefit of the people watching who are all going to be in the chat. That's going to say Lungo is right. Palpa memes say you're wrong. That's what it's for. And it's for my personal gratification.
I hope you can say, Lunga, when this movie inevitably makes 500 to 600 million, which has been my prediction, you will say, okay, yeah, it wasn't nearly as much as I thought it would be.
I won't, because I live in reality. You don't.
That's why. Wait, you predicted close to $1 billion, though. I mean, if he's right there and he gets to 500 to 600, we were wrong, because I do think this movie can't hit $1 billion.
Well, he thinks there's not a chance of that happening, is what he's saying. Granted, he said, I live in reality, therefore it won't happen at all. There's no chance. So it's like, listen, that's fine. It's good to be confident in your own beliefs, as am I.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you said the Ray movie was going to make $2.5 billion.
There's a little bit of a exaggeration with that claim.
I'm going to clip it without any of the context, and it's going to be one of our buttons on my stream deck.
And I say this now. I've actually changed my stance. I say if the Ray movie was first to come out, it still wouldn't make $1 billion. I say whatever movie comes out first has a very low chance of making $1 billion.
We live in a world of sound bites.
It doesn't matter. Yes, context doesn't matter.
They all have a low chance to make $1 billion.
Not at all.
When Chatooine is the #1 podcast on planet Earth, you'll see that. Headline.
2026, we will be #1. You think we're just getting started, bro? You got no idea. We're not here to take part. We're here to take.
We're gonna get J.J. Abrams to come out, and he's gonna read his original outlines to the sequel trilogy, and then he's gonna pull out George Lucas's scripts.
No, he doesn't have those, but he can read us.
No, he doesn't have those, but it'd be
his
funny.
drafts. Yeah, he can read us.
Here's the thing, though. One day, and I'm working on this. One day, I'm gonna get the original Rise of Skywalker script written by J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. The first, second, or third draft. One of those three. I have parts of them already. I'm gonna get them, and I will gladly do a read through on Chatooine. I won't even put it on my channel
unless you can get me all three. I'm not gonna settle for any less than 2.
You don't want?
Right?
Okay.
I want all 3.
I don't know if I can get all 3. I'll get one of the 3.
You got to get all 3. We will storm JJ's office at Bad Robot if we have to.
JJ.
It's like the
Well,
South Park episode where they stormed George Lucas's basement
yeah,
to get
yeah.
the original.
Or that movie
original-
Fanboys.
Yeah.
Fanboys, or they stormed
Fanboys. Yeah.
Skywalker Ranch, I think, to get the Phantom Menace. That's a
Yeah.
good movie. We need to do a watch party on that one day.
You know, I haven't seen it. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Jesus, that makes me feel old, actually.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. Anywho, we got to wrap up the show, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have a calendar or anything because, we did great last week. And so we were like, let's kick our feet up for a little bit and relax and just worry about what comes next. So
reality is only
week.
just hasn't done a calendar for 3 weeks. He just hasn't done his job. So
He's trying to
that's
throw
the
this on
reality.
all
of
of
it.
us like, oh, we just decided.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we.
See,
Let me guys a little back room. We don't make the calendar. There's no we with the calendar. It is only.
I mean,
only
as a show, When I say we, I mean as like the corporate thing. I'm not
right. When it's convenient, it's we.
Exactly. I'm not going to point any names or name any fingers. All right, that wouldn't be the person that I am.
Point any names or name any fingers. Wow.
Yeah, it's from Pirates of the Caribbean. I know you were.
Oh
young
yeah,
when it
that's
came
true.
out.
I
It's
thought
a
you
very
genuinely
popular
just messed it up.
franchise.
I was like, dude, what?
No, Jack Sparrow. I don't know if you remember him, but I remember Johnny Depp.
Yeah. I'd love if he shows up in the Bad Batch. I'd probably be more invested.
I do want to bring up this thing before we go. Matthew Kelly said, I really think the popcorn bucket that came out of Grogu's ears has felt very disgusting. There's a reason for that. Did you see the Dune popcorn bucket? Anyone? Did you see the Dune? Yeah. Okay. That became a meme so hard with that asshole of a popcorn bucket.
I own it.
So, oh, you got the bucket? I bought it for my son when we went to go see it. He wanted it.
I'm
like,
wearing
here.
it right now. I mean, I'm eating out of it right now.
Okay. You sure that's the popcorn bucket?
I don't know. It keeps bothering me. I've actually never seen Dune, so I don't know what the fuck is up with the worms. But anywho, yeah, we'll be back next week. We're gonna put up a probably calendar on like social media and everything to let you guys know what the upcoming shows are. But yeah, we'll be back here next Wednesday night. Thank you so much for tuning in, and yeah, we'll see you next week, folks. May the force be with you all. Let's have a good night, folks. Close it out, Lunga.
What?